Chess Club in Bonnie, Scotland. And can I just start by thanking those of you who have sent me favourable feedback on these videos. I'm not a high rated player, and I make videos for all chess players, and as long as people enjoy them, then that's okay with me. There may be one or two mistakes in these videos, but I enjoy making them, and there'll be many more to follow. Now, the game I've got for you tonight is a miniature by Alekhine, and I take this from my best games of chess by Alekhine, 1908 to 1923, and this game was played in the winter tournament of the St. Petersburg Chess Society in March 1912, and it must have been as cold there as it is here in Scotland tonight. And Alekhine's opponent, who had white, was a player called Potemkin. And let's get on with the game. White played e4, and then Alekhine played c5. Bit unusual, wasn't a favourite of Alekhine's. g3, and Alekhine comments that this is a good method of development against the Sicilian. g6, bishop g2, bishop g7, knight e2, knight c6, and then white played c3. And Alekhine immediately comments, and this is from his annotations. And a quick word of warning here, Alekhine's volume of his best games is criticised because some of the annotations are inaccurate, so you need to be a bit cautious when you're using the games. However, instead of c3, Alekhine recommended a normal system of development with the knight out to c3, d6, and then castles, and white has a perfectly playable position. After c3, Alekhine says it's not in the spirit of the system, therefore he continues to develop, and then white plays knight a3. You notice that the move c3 has stopped his knight getting out, and it leads to this incongruous illogical move. Instead, Alekhine recommends d4, c takes d, c takes d, and then d6, although he does mention that white's central pawns will become weak and that black has the superior game. However, after knight a3, Alekhine plays the move d5 with the comment in his annotations, "of course!" exclamation mark, striking into the centre before white has time to develop. Pawn takes, knight takes, and these knights need to be watched, and Alekhine's handling of the knights is masterful. Knight c2, castles, d4, and Alekhine comments that at once the queen pawn becomes weak, but that d3 wasn't much of an option either. Pawn takes, c takes, and then bishop g4, putting a pin on the e2 knight before white has time to complete his development, and this leads to the awkward looking f3, and there's holes opening in white's kingside here. Bishop f5, and now white needs to play a move like knight e3. If, for example, he plays a move like castles, this loses a pawn by force. Bishop takes knight, queen takes, bishop takes d4, or knight takes d4, knight takes, attacking the queen, and black is a pawn to the good. So after the move knight e3, Alekhine plays queen a5. Now this prevents castling, because if white attempts to block either with the bishop or with the queen, it leads to the loss of a piece. Knight e3, because whichever piece is blocking the check is pinned. So black can't castle, and he moves his king to f2, which at this point looks safe. But now watch the knights. Knight b to knight d to b4, allowing the bishop to be taken. However, the fourth rank is clear for the queen, so the queen comes in opposite the king. Queen takes bishop, and then g4. Alekhine begins the decisive attack with knight d3 check, and then king g3. And in this position, can you see the move that Alekhine plays next? I'll give you a chance to pause the video. 1, 2. Alekhine plays knight takes d4 with the one word annotation decisive exclamation mark, offering the queen for sacrifice. And what if black refuses the sacrifice? Alekhine points out that it's an easy win. Knight takes, queen e5, check. Now the king can't go to h3 because knight f2 wins the queen. So king h4, bishop f6 check, g5, queen takes, knight check, f4, bishop takes g5, king takes g5, queen f6 check, king g4, knight f2, king f3, and picks up the queen, crushing. So after knight takes d4, white accepts the queen sacrifice, and there's a few continuations here, all of which lead to mate. So the first move is knight takes f5 check, and if king g4, h5 check, king g5, bishop f6 mate. What if, on the other hand, after knight takes f5, king h3, there then occurs the beautiful mate, knight f2 mate, and this is what is known as a pure mate, because the mating square here is controlled by one piece, and the escape squares are controlled by one piece. This knight controls these two squares, and this knight controls this square and that square. And a similar pure mate, as it's called, did occur in Anderson's Evergreen game, and it makes a beautiful aesthetic impression and adds to the quality of the finish, although a mate is a mate. I hope you enjoyed this miniature. There's some beautiful Alekhine games in his volume, and I'll see you soon.